An 8-month I-Team investigation uncovers not hundreds, but thousands of students missing from Richmond County's classrooms. The district can't say where they are. That's because their own data shows they're not following state rules on tracking students.
That's still a huge chunk of kids that are not in school. Is this a failure on leadership here?
Every single one of our students, our school system has more than 29,000 students. Every single one of those students is important.
Yet 1 in every 10 students may have gone missing from the rosters during the pandemic. All new tonight, our I-Team found some have dropped out, some are in jail or prison, others are homeless, unable to get to class.
A district whistleblower says the Richmond County school system is violating federal law. This also means graduation rates, which are already the second lowest in the state, could be even worse off than they appear right now. All of this as Augusta's class of 2022 will cross the stage tomorrow to begin getting their diplomas.
The I-Team senior investigative reporter Liz Owens found nationally students chronically absent from class tripled over the pandemic. It's even more so for vulnerable populations here in Augusta.
Near shelters and motels.
Why did he miss last week?
I had no way to take him.
Behind bars and an alphabet soup of data codes.
How would you describe the system right now?
We find the lost children of Richmond County.
Completely flawed. It's failing families that really need help.
The I-Team uncovered not dozens or hundreds, but thousands of them missing from school this year. Students like Gary, a second grader, who missed class for a month when he moved into a homeless shelter and didn't have a bus ride to school. Or this homeless teen who had to learn from home without a home to learn from. They are the invisible children behind the numbers.
I was basically shocked at the amount of children that are missing in the system.
We found Richmond County's method of tracking students is a maze of confusion. The data specialist for Richmond County School District would only answer our questions behind these closed doors, away from our cameras. The district spokesperson, Lynthia Ross, did talk on camera.
Why do we have so many missing kids? Has the district dropped the ball with that?
Not at all.
The I-Team first began asking questions about missing and homeless students 8 months ago. We filed open records requests, but the data the school district provided us didn't seem to add up. Here's why. The school system reported the number of homeless students decreased by more than 65% at a time when the homeless population in the county was skyrocketing more than 150%. The district also told the I-Team there were 900 students unaccounted for. But in our 8 months of searching through data, we found that number is much, much higher.
The state of Georgia uses a coding system to track students exiting the classroom. School systems enter one of these codes to explain why a student is no longer in class. Now, some codes like L for low grades affect dropout and graduation rates. Other codes require confirmation of enrollment at another school through either a state database or documentation, like a transcript request for a student transferring to a new school. Students are to be coded as unknown until a district receives proof of enrollment. Now, I looked at every code assigned to students who either didn't show up on the first day of class or stopped coming to class during the school year. There are a lot of codes, so I want you to focus just on these three. T, transfer to another school in Georgia. W, transfer within the school system. And X, transfer out of state. The blue bars show the number of students verified in Richmond County as enrolled somewhere else. The red bars, that's the number of students without documentation or verification. Altogether, we identified nearly 3,000 students without proof of enrollment.
Nearly 3,000 unaccounted for kids coded as if they're receiving an education somewhere else. Almost 3,000 Richmond County students the district never followed up with to make sure they are in school anywhere.
Do you guys understand the process? It seems like there's either it's being ignored, how the state requires it, or you guys just are not following or confused by it.
Yeah, we've been following the state's process as outlined in the law.
But the I-Team found the district has a history of not following the law. The state investigated and found Richmond County schools were, in fact, not properly coding missing students in 2016 and again in 2017.
The graduation rate is the highest it's been in 10 years.
A time when then Superintendent Dr. Angela Pringle touted Richmond County's graduation rate.
It's important to us to make sure that the students in this community get the services that the school system provides.
State records show otherwise. So does this new lawsuit.
This was actually filed last night, so I don't know if you've seen it or not.
The I-Team found the district's former lead social worker and homeless liaison filed this whistleblower complaint, alleging leaders demoted her for speaking up about leaders not following the McKinney-Vento Act as federally required. She alleges she witnessed at least 20 occasions on which she objected to the denial of free, appropriate public education. That whistleblower sent this email in 2020. She warned the school system back then it was non-compliant under the McKinney-Vento Act. It's a federal law intended to provide homeless students the same educational opportunities as house students. She outlined failings by Richmond County schools in a grant application, writing, "Students are being denied immediate enrollment, withdrawing students because they are out of zone or changed school zones, referrals not being sent in appropriately, or missed referrals altogether." The state awarded the Richmond County School District nearly $350,000 to help reach homeless students. That's in addition to the $117 million under the American Rescue Plan and another $51 million in other COVID-related funds. Altogether, more than $186 million for the Richmond County School District.
The ones that's most vulnerable to fall through the cracks are the poorest ones, the ones that are mostly left out.
Dr. Wayne Frazier was the principal at Glen Hills High School and then later at the alternative school before joining the Board of Education.
The poorest children and the children who was what I call the invisible children. They was only visible at the time that they made a mistake or they they misbehaved. Other than that, they was invisible.
We found truancy complaints are up more than 115% in juvenile court. We also found dozens of teenagers booked in the adult jail at the county, nearly all of which are unaccounted for Richmond County students.
When you don't get an education, there's only two places left, and that's prison or the graveyard.
Ma'am, listen to me. We already getting everybody en route to you, ma'am.
Investigators say Jaquavius Taylor was only 15 when he shot and killed 17-year-old D'Angelo Burns. Burns dropped out of the alternative school the year before he was murdered.
There's some that are dead now that I have found. There are some that are in the jail right now. And there's some that are sitting behind a homeless shelter. How serious are you taking this?
It's our highest priority to make sure our students succeed.
But success is difficult when a school system fails to track thousands of its students who then become invisible and disappear.
So to bring all this home again, we have the second lowest graduation rate. That number could be even lower once the state audits this year's roster. Now that won't happen until in the fall, which is a long time for a delay in outreach and intervention.
So will anything actually change now going forward?
Well, since our last report, they've actually put some money towards getting a van to help transport homeless students back and forth. They've partnered up with local agencies like law enforcement and nonprofits to help identify students. So they are trying to put some things in place to do outreach to these kids. They've also done some checks and balances as well. When they turned over the data, which was about a month ago, they enacted that to help keep track of the students.
But really a fight to get a lot of these numbers.
It's been a very long battle, yes.
And we're talking about a lot of students.
3,000.
It's very concerning.
Yeah, well, thanks for continuing to dig into this. this, Liz. We know none of this would have gotten exposed without 8 months of hard work.
And shining a bright spotlight on the problem. Liz, thank you.